Big win for France tonight, 4-0 against Ukraine on a night that carried a lot more weight than just football, exactly 10 years after the Paris attacks. Les Bleus took their time, struggled to break Ukraine down, and honestly looked pretty flat for the first hour. But when the first goal went in, the game opened up and the scoreline exploded. Great numbers on paper, sure, but if you scratch a little deeper, a lot of questions remain. But hey, at least it wasn't as bad as Portugal, who completely collapsed in Ireland with a 2-0 loss and a red card for Cristiano Ronaldo. Let's break it all down. All right, so here we are, France-Ukraine 4-0. France qualified, the second European team to qualify for the World Cup in North America next summer after England. And on paper, a very, very impressive result. 4-0, nothing to sneeze at. Goals from Mbappe, from Olise, from Ekitike. And so, and another one from Mbappe as well. So a lot of our firepower in attack validated, and ultimately, managed to break down a brave but ultimately limited Ukrainian team who came to Paris to really sit in defense and try to hold the 0-0 as long as they potentially could. Ukraine only had one shot, and it wasn't even on target. So obviously, as soon as France scored the first goal, that game was pretty much over. They kept going though and increased the pace towards the end of the game, and so it ends 4-0. And the win and the qualification are assured, which is really what this team was after. Because ultimately, 4 goals, yes, but also a lot of questions. Because if the France performance in the second half ended up being pretty dominant, the first half was really, really, again, not that great. And if you remember, I did a video after the last international break in which I went through all of the struggles that this French team has had tactically in building an organization that really lives up to the level of the individual players. And this is still very much what we saw in the first half yesterday. A French team who had a front four of Mbappe, Olise, Cherki, and Barcola, which on paper looks very, very alluring and very exciting. But in reality, all 4 of the players did well in their own corner, but had a horrible time trying to connect, didn't really work together. And so for a Ukrainian team who was in defense and was playing a 5-3-2, it became very easy to keep the French attackers at bay, especially since for the French team, we still have a question mark in terms of how the rest of the team can contribute to the attack. And when you see midfield with N'Golo Kante and Manu Kone, both very strong midfielders, but both very defensively minded. When you see on the side, you've got Koundé, who really doesn't contribute that much in offense. And on the other side, we had Dean, who did okay, but isn't the strongest fullback in the world. For a PSG fan, you compare this with what you get out of a Joao Neves and Vitinha in midfield and Hakimi and Nuno Mendes in defense, and it's really, really night and day. And so ultimately for the French team, the firepower that we have up front is great and it's definitely world-class. But as soon as you pit those 4 players against 5, 6, 7 defenders, very quickly it becomes hard for them to find space and find opportunities and break down that defense. And I think tactically as well, you've got to wonder, because the way the player was set up was probably not playing to their best qualities as well, and wasn't really playing to the games that we had. So Mbappe as a number 9, for example, we know that against a tight block, his first reflex is going to go back into midfield, drop down a little, try to touch the ball and help with building up the game, even drift on the side a little bit. Cherki as a number 10 did well in the sense that he got to touch the ball a lot. He ends the first half with, I think, 91 balls played. But at the same time, he didn't really have any opportunities for passing in front of him. And so most of the balls that he got ended up moving either laterally or to the back of him. Olise on the right also tried to create some stuff, but without the support of a fullback in Koundé, he could only do that much on his own. And I think the most interesting opportunities that he had was when he drifted back inside and tried to curl a shot with his left foot. And Barcola on the other side was pretty much the same, did well with his pace and was trying to provoke and dribble past his defenders, curled a shot that, almost went in at the end of the first half, and the Ukrainian goalkeeper had to push it on his post to save from the goal. But ultimately, beyond that, Barcola also didn't manage to break down the Ukrainian defense. And so at halftime, we go at halftime with 0-0. France has dominated, for sure. They've got 65% possessions. Ukraine didn't really get anything done offensively. But at the same time, we're not any closer to scoring a goal. And so, a lot of questions can be asked at that point. And candidly, I think the team and Didier Deschamps must have had words for each other and a pretty strong discussion in the locker room, because they come back and try to put in a little bit more in terms of their performance. We start seeing a lot of more movement, players calling for the ball in different positions, and not just, calling it well static and then trying to create out of nowhere. You see a lot more movement. You see players trying to combine and trying to play together. And ultimately, the game turns around on 1 minute or a couple of minutes, because we go from one situation where Ukraine actually manages to bring the ball towards the French defense. That's a little bit of a question mark, though it's pretty clearly not that strong in terms of whether Upamecano challenges deserves of a penalty for Ukraine. Like I said, for me, obviously I'm not neutral in a game like this, but it was very clear very quickly that it wasn't going to be the case. But it still went to VAR, still took some time to get to a decision. And then 2 minutes after, France goes back into offense, the ball gets passed to Olise. A Ukrainian defender makes a horrible challenge and essentially steps on Olise's foot after the ball has gone. And so in that case, it's a very clear penalty. And Mbappe doesn't miss the opportunity to score. It's 1-0. And at this point, the game changes. Space open up. Ukraine goes back to playing only 4 in defense versus playing 5. And they do try to open up a little bit more. They're also tired from all of the efforts that they have to make in the first half to run after the ball. You've got a Ukrainian defender who's actually suffering from cramps at the 55th minute. So that gives you a sense of how bad they were dominated physically. And that's coupled with some substitutions for France. So Barcola goes out and is replaced by Ekitike, who has a wonderful entrance. And then Cherki goes out and is replaced by Akliouche, who goes on the right side. And Olise starts playing at the number 10. And at this point, Olise turns on the light. Ekitike is really creating a lot out of the left flank in terms of physical impact, in terms of making runs, but also in terms of drifting back into the middle and, putting a lot more density in the middle of the defense and creating opportunities for combinations and short passing. And so at this point, yes, the game changes. The second goal happens. There's a lot of opportunities, actually. There's 3-4 opportunities between the first and the second goal. But then the second goal happened. It's a quick series of pass in the middle of the Ukrainian defense between, I think, Olise to N'Golo Kante, and it goes back to Olise who pivots and scores. And then, third goal, fourth goal, same thing. We managed to make run at their central defense, pass the ball around, bring a lot of players within their area, and open up positions of shooting. And then from there on, the game is pretty easy for us. So in the end, what to think? Because you've got a French team who, yes, scored a lot of goals, but there's still a lot of question in my mind in terms of how we want to play. Obviously, we still have players and important players who are missing because, when a player like Dembele comes back, I expect he's going to slot into this team. player like Doué comes back, if it's like a Doué at the level that he plays at in PSG, he could very well slot into this team. And I think, the ways of playing then become very different. We do have uncertainties, though. I think we still have question marks as well in terms of our midfield, which I think is a weakness given the field that we have in France right now. And so I think that's somewhere where we're gonna have to keep trying different things. And N'Golo Kanté had a wonderful game in terms of running around and contributing and the physicality of him all. But in terms of helping in attack, didn't really do that much. Kone had a pretty average game, at least disappointing versus his previous French standard. So maybe it's not the midfield two that are gonna work well together. And then the fullbacks. I think for me, the fullbacks, it's a big difference. In today's football, it's a huge difference maker for teams. And we know that very well as PSG fans. And I'm sorry, but Koundé, I honestly, I'm not a fan of him playing right back in Barcelona. I know sometimes he does okay, sometimes he does well. I think most of the time he's very, very average in this position. He's okay defensively and honestly dreadful when it comes to moving forward. And yeah, with the French team, every time you see him move past the middle of the pitch, he just stops himself and passes the ball to someone else. He's not making the run. He's not helping. He's not creating opportunities of passes for Olise, at least dragging a defender or two with him to take some of the pressure away from our attackers. And so it really doesn't help anyone. It really doesn't help anyone. And honestly, I was thinking watching the game, but Warren Zaire Emery, I know he's a substitute, he's a midfielder, and he's kind of a substitute for us at right back. There's a case to be made that he could make a bigger impact in this position than Koundé. And I wonder if the next game, which obviously doesn't count for anything now, and we're going to be going into Azerbaijan, if that's something that Deschamps might want to try, because that could be something to look at. So yeah. And ultimately, is France a favorite for this World Cup? It's obviously hard to say. We know the French team under Didier Deschamps always does a lot better in a tournament than in qualifiers or in friendly games. So you've got to hope that the player finds their grooves in there. But at the same time, when I see Spain, when I see Argentina, when I see there's a few teams, even England, who are playing very, very well right now. We know all of the big teams are going to be there. We're only the second European team to qualify. But, apart from Italy, who's in a tough spot and might be facing some extra games, Portugal is going to be there. Spain is going to be there. Germany is going to be there. Netherlands are going to be there. All of the big ones are going to be there. And for all of the individual qualities that we have up front, I feel that tactically and collectively, we're not in a place which is going to allow us to be dominant over a lot of those teams. We might be better than them and win on the day, but it's not going to be obvious from the get-go. And I think this team, especially Spain, Spain is very, very strong right now, and I feel like Spain, collectively and tactically, and even in some cases individually, really has the material to pose problems to us and get one over us. So we'll have to see. There's still a lot of road ahead of the World Cup. And hey, at least we still did better than Portugal, who, like I said in my intro, had a horrible 2-0 defeat in Ireland. Cristiano Ronaldo got a red card around the 60th minute as well. Which was really the capper on the night. They got 2 goals scored on them in the first half. And yeah, you see the limitations of this Portuguese team pretty sharply there, in the sense of a line of offense, which is the word that comes to my mind is concerning. And I'm going to go with this. It might be a little bit strong, but you see a front three, which is Joao Felix, who, I'm sorry, has always been like a very uneven kind of player and hasn't been at his top level for about 15 years at this point. You see Cristiano Ronaldo, who's 40 years old and is still a fantastic player, but he's getting on with age. And you see Bernardo Silva also, who's been washed in City, and is not at the level that he was at 3, 4, 5 years ago. And so that front three, is that really what you want to put forward in a World Cup? And I'm sorry, but if that's what you offer, and I'm thinking of France again, but like those guys are going to go against Upamecano and Saliba, good luck, like really good luck. Because I don't think that's a matchup that goes in your direction. Obviously, they still have strengths in midfield. Vitinha is still doing well. João Neves still has bags of potential. Nuno Mendes not going to be injured forever as well, and it's going to definitely contribute. But yes, there's gaps. There's gaps in this Portuguese team. I still think they're going to qualify in their next game. I think they're playing Armenia at home, so it should be relatively straightforward for them. But there's really question marks that they're going to have to look at. So anyways, this is what I had for you guys on this first game of this international week. France qualified for the World Cup, and that's really the headline news, and got to be happy with that. The rest will come later anyway. So as always, if you've made it this far into the video, please drop a like, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and hit the bell to get notified of future videos. And let me know in the comment what you thought of this game. Did you watch any of it? And who do you think are going into this World Cup as favorites for it? And as always, even with international football, ici c'est pareil!